Good afternoon and welcome to the Rotary Club of Kerrville. At this time, I would like to invite everybody to check in on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and whatever else is out there for social media. And let them know we're solving the world's problems on a gloomy day in Kerrville, Texas, but we're thankful for a little bit of wetness as long as it doesn't get too cold on us. And also, when you get through with that, if you would please silence the cell phone. So when Erin is up here speaking a little bit, we have she's not interrupted. So at this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Jimmy Hutto to come up, please, and lead us in our invocation and our pledge, followed by the illustrious Lieutenant Colonel George Eichner.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussions, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. And Lord, be with our first responders, our veterans, both foreign and domestic, and keep an eye on what's going on over there in Europe. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the last time we tried this, when the Saints go marching in for the main event, I was at home and it really sounded bad. And so I figured if I was here in person, I'd give you a chance. This is verses 4 to 6 that hopefully Dave will put up here in a minute. But this has to do with the main event and the fact that it's around the corner. So to the tune of When the Saints Go Marching In. It's coming up, you bet it is. The main event is coming up. It will be here this weekend. So get out and hype it up. There's gonna be some games of chance and lots of food and drink for all. But the big deal is the raffle and a chance to win big bucks. So if you haven't bought in yet, consider doing it real soon, 'cause you don't want to miss out on a really great event. Hey!
If you would please take your seats, except for Clint Morris, who's going to introduce our speaker today.
Thank you very much, President Jeff. Nothing brightens a program person's day than to call somebody you don't know and think it's really busy and ask them to come speak, and they look at their calendar and say, I'd be delighted. And I think you will hear the enthusiasm in the voice of our speaker today. She grew up in the Buda, Kyle area, just south of Austin. She attended and graduated from Texas A&M University. Let's hear it for the Aggies. With a degree in renewable natural resources and forestry. She thereafter became a certified arborist, and she is a forester with the Texas A&M Forest Service. She's headquartered here in Kerrville, where she takes care of 12 counties throughout the Hill Country, advising landowners and communities on land management, tree care, and oak wilt. So please make welcome our speaker today, who's going to talk to us about Texas native trees and give us an oak wilt update, Erin Davis.
All right, thank you all. Sorry to get more for space. Oh, it's all right, I'm almost there.
Make sure the mic is on at the podium. Please make sure the mic at the podium is on.
So people on Zoom should be able to see the presentation.
We see it.
Can't see it?
We see it.
Perfect.
Looks
All
good.
right.
Somebody turn the mic back on. Please don't turn the mic off again.
Are we good?
We're good.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm Erin Davis. Thanks for having me. We're going to talk about oak wilt first because that's usually where I get the most questions. And we can maybe touch on some native trees. Both of those talks could take an hour and a half each. So I will try not to do that. But this is the counties that oak wilt is in, verified through lab samples. First found in Texas in 1961 in Dallas County. But you know, an update is it's still here. It's still increasing, especially in the hill country. And that's because we have a bunch of live oaks and it moves through live oaks really easily. And also because there's a lot of development in the hill country. So when people are trimming trees, you know, for power lines or houses or whatever, all those fresh cuts on oaks can start new infection centers. So what trees are susceptible? All oaks, but different species act differently when they get oak wilt. So red oaks are the most susceptible, and those are the ones that turn red in fall. Live oaks are intermediate, but it's so detrimental because they're root connected. So it just spreads from tree to tree. And then white oaks, there's a few in that group that are, you know, handle it better than others. And some you can't even tell if it gets oak wilt, and some that you can definitely see some issues, but it's not quite as obvious as with live oaks and red oaks. So, you know, as a quick guide to identifying different oaks, the red oaks are those three top left ones. Our most common ones in this area are Spanish oak or Texas red oak, same thing. And then blackjack oak, I'll see that every now and then. But all red oaks have a little tiny hair at the end of their leaves. So you can see there's little points on each one. If it's an oak, so it has an acorn and it has those little points, it's in the red oak family. And those are the most susceptible. And then, you know, live oaks, top right, it's just a simple oval leaf. And then white oaks, there's several, some common ones around here are lacy oak, chinkapin, Monterey, post oak, bur oak. And you can see there's just a live oak on the right that died from oak wilt, and the post oak on the left is doing fine, which is a white oak. So it spreads first by beetles that are carrying fungal spores. So that top picture is really deceiving. If you look below under the dime, there's two little dots. That's how small they are. But they're attracted to fungal mats, which grow on red oaks because it smells sweet to them. And that fungal mat is that middle picture. And that's with the bark pulled off. So you won't actually see that. But anyway, they get in there, pick up the fungal spores, fly off. And then if you were pruning and cutting your trees and you weren't sealing those cuts, they're also attracted to that sweet smell, land on that open cut, and can drop off the fungal spores. They may not do it every time, but that can definitely happen. So that's how a new oak wilt center gets started. And they're attracted to anything sweet. So they're not just going after oaks. They're just coincidentally carrying this fungal spore unknowingly and landing on a fresh cut, or maybe it's not that. Maybe it's a glass of juice sitting out or something like that. So anything sweet. And then once let's say it does get in a live oak, then it can spread from tree to tree because live oaks really commonly are just root sprouts of the same system. So that is a live oak motte on the left, and that's basically just one tree because it's all from the same root system. So that fungus easily can go from tree to tree through that connected root system. That spread takes about 75 feet on average per year. So on some years, it can seem like oak wilt's not moving at all. And then other years I get a call and people say it jumped 100 feet, and it really can do that in 1 year. So what to look for in live oaks is the veinal necrosis. This is the telltale symptom of oak wilt, where the veins on the leaves turn yellow, reddish, brown. We actually saw a little bit of veinal necrosis after the last February freeze. So there is some mimicry, but that's the biggest thing to look for. As well as the tip and the edge turning brown, or on the right where the opposite happens of veinal necrosis. And that's called vein banding, where the vein stays green and the rest of the leaf kind of just diffuses of color. That one's definitely more rare. But you're also just looking for the pattern of mortality, which means this tree died, and then the next set of trees outside of that died the following year, and then the next set of trees are maybe symptomatic with these leaves. So you're looking for that pattern as well. And then in red oaks, there's no super obvious sign on the leaves. It's just that they're turning red at the wrong time of year. It should be that first light bulb moment. So red oaks are obviously going to get their fall color in the fall. But if it's spring or summer and it's flagging, which is that top right picture where one branch is just super red, that's like the first sign to pay attention to that tree. The other thing is how quickly the rest of the tree turns red. So 4 to 6 weeks, it's very quick when red oaks have oak wilt. And then they can get the fungal mat. They won't every time, but usually if they were infected in the fall and they hang on till spring, then with the spring conditions, they can produce a fungal mat. So preventing oak wilt, you want to paint all your cuts on your oaks. So regular old spray paint, I use the cheapest stuff at the hardware store, $1 can. And you want to paint those cuts immediately. And that's just to set up a barrier between the open cut and the beetle, and a scent barrier as well. And so also don't prune oak trees February through June. That's kind of the time when those fungal mats are growing possibly, and the beetles are most active. So those two things aligning makes it the riskiest time to be doing just, your basic pruning job. If there is a branch that's like hitting your roof or too low and it's almost going to hit your car on the way in, those things you need to just take care of quickly, paint them immediately, and only make one cut if possible. So, there are situations where you may have to prune an oak February through June, but keep it at a minimum. And then we don't want to use red oak firewood because of the fungal mats. So sorry, I'm trying to go through this. I usually give more detail, but if your red oak didn't die of oak wilt, you can use that as firewood. But if you suspect it may be oak wilt, you don't want to use it, because if you set it down there and there's a fungal mat, the beetles could just be going back and forth until it dries out. Live oaks are okay though, because they cannot produce the fungal mat. Another management strategy is to plant other trees, which is a great option. I've had some landowners just kind of give up on managing oak wilt and replace them with other trees that aren't oaks. And then trenching is a management option. This is where we use, not we specifically, but we advise using these, big machinery like a rock saw to cut those roots. And so you go out 100 feet around the disease center and try to stop it and contain it into that area. This is obviously better in more like open ranch settings and when it's smaller. So, when there's fewer trees, the trench is going to be smaller, the price is going to be lower. And then there's also fungicide injection. So this picture is a good scenario of when you would use a fungicide injection. When oak wilt's coming, you can't trench obviously in this scenario, but you can inject that tree on the right with a fungicide, and that can really help get that tree past the disease and survive, and hopefully not, shows too many symptoms. But the disease is still going to spread. So even if you did a row of trees with the treatment, it can still use the root system underneath to get past. So where the trench cuts it off, that's the goal. The fungicide is just to save individual trees. It's kind of what it looks like. They hook up a system with tubing and they drill into the root flares of the tree. And then we also have a video on this. So some of my landowners will take it upon themselves to do these injections themselves, just a couple of trees every weekend, and they keep on going. So that video is on our website, texasoakwilt.org, in the video section. I also suggest people watch that if they're going to hire someone, just to see how we recommend it be done. It's really informative. All right. And then I thought I'd mention these two things since I always get asked, especially after the last freeze, what you can do to protect your trees. So if they're younger, you can cover them. Just make sure to remove that cover promptly, like a sheet or a clear tarp. Remove it after the freeze, just because we don't want it to overheat under there and also retain too much moisture. But also just watering your trees, young or mature trees, before. So that water acts as an insulator in the plant cells, and it also can retain more moisture in the soil as well for the roots. Luckily, we've had a little bit of rain before this freeze, so that may help, but you can also still do a little bit more watering. And then ball moss is an air plant. It's not a parasite. So whereas mistletoe is a parasite and it actually roots into the tree, and ball moss is just sits on the tree. And so usually where you'll find ball moss the most is in the under canopy of the tree. So the tree, especially like live oaks, they hang down their limbs. So the tree shades out those lower branches, and the ball moss just takes that opportunity, that empty space, to stick itself there. And it also has, filtered sunlight and a little bit of humidity under that tree canopy. So it's a really ideal place. Ball moss can get out of hand and kind of cover up the whole tree when you have a weak tree. So really, if that's happening, you need to address what's causing the tree to not push out leaves and take up its own space with leaves. So that could be oak wilt or drought or construction damage or maybe some other pest. But removing most of that dead wood underneath the canopy is going to help with the ball moss issue. It can remove, half or more of the ball moss in a live oak, for example. There is sprays, but I recommend just removing the dead wood first. However, we're getting into that time zone of we shouldn't really be touching our oaks anyway. Any questions on that?
Do you like to water them tonight?
It's,
This afternoon at 1 o'clock.
yeah, it's a little late.
Well, I'm glad I watered the last.
There you go. Yes.
Fungicide injection. Years ago, I did some trees.
Mhm.
And I believe it was Texas Forest Service told us about this fungicide.
Mhm.
It was like 30 years ago. That time, this proconazole
Mhm.
fungicide, they had recently discovered, I think single guy who was making it, they discovered that this common fungicide used on a lot of other agricultural products would kill the fungicide in trees.
Mhm.
They turned around and labeled it under a label
Alamo, yeah. Mhm.
and jacked the price up where it's almost prohibited for the landowner to do it. But you could buy Banner, Orbit, same chemical,
Mhm.
and inject your trees with that, which is what I did. Why don't, is that still the case where you can buy the same thing?
Yeah, I can't advise on that because you have to follow the label. So you have to make sure that it's labeled for oak wilt. From a TDA, from a Department of Agriculture standpoint, that's how to go with that. Just like people ask me, can I put baking soda on ball moss? Well, is ball moss labeled for, is baking soda labeled for ball moss use? No. But it is an expensive fungicide. And it is on Amazon. You can see the price. I haven't compared it to Banner in a while, but sorry, I don't have a better answer for you on that one. Right here.
So with our lack of topsoil in our rocky conditions, what would the natural lifespan of the live oak tree here over the drought season?
Yeah, that's interesting because it could be a scraggly small live oak on the hilltop and it could last for a really long time, or it could be one of those really nice big ones in a better soil conditions. It can be hundreds of years. You get those trees, but it just differs. There's other things, of course, like the 2011 drought killed a lot of trees, lightning. But oak wilt is the biggest, forest health issue for live oaks here. Red oaks are shorter lived. I was just talking to Clinton about that. He said his big red oak fell. So that is really common. I get questions about, well, my red oak's dying of oak wilt. I'm like, well, call me back in a couple of weeks and let me know if it looks worse or about the same. And so red oaks are weaker trees. Yeah, so decline was kind of confused with oak wilt for a while before oak wilt was really defined and made clear with what it was. But decline is a thing, but it can happen with any tree. So decline is basically just the slow decline of trees because of certain factors. So they could be environmental at first, like drought. And then they could go through a hard freeze and then become weaker. And then they get some borers in the tree, in the wood. And so all those things decline the tree over time. So there is like oak decline, and we actually specifically talk about post oak decline a lot. You know, more a little further east, that's a bigger issue because those trees especially have a rapid decline, but that is a different thing. So any tree can get decline, but oak wilt is specifically for oaks, and it's a specific fungus. Right there. Mhm. Yes. Yeah, and I kind of rushed through that, but I mean, if they were treated, I think it's a good thing if I was buying a house, if there's oak wilt in the area. So really, it's all about timing. So if you know oak wilt's coming towards your property, you want to inject the trees ahead of the disease, but not too far ahead. So pretty much any tree, you know, if this tree right here, if this is a tree and it's diseased and you have, you know, 10 right here within a 75-foot range, those are the ones you want to treat this year. And then the next 75 feet the next year, because it moves 75 feet on average. So you want to get the fungicide in the tree right before it's about to be infected. So if you treat a tree that's 500 feet away or half a mile away, that injection isn't going to really help anything because you need to time it right. So it's more about, is it timed right? And has the disease moved past that set of trees? Like, can you see that it's moved on? And then after that initial injection, it is recommended to do a second injection about 18 to 24 months after, just in case it's still in the root system. And I have neighborhoods in San Antonio that I help, and every single person starts injecting their trees, and then it's harder to track where the oak wilt is, which is good because they're saving their trees, but it makes it more difficult to see who should be injecting their trees when. So having a few trees in between that you don't inject, if possible, it can be helpful, so you can still see where it is through the leaf symptoms. I saw another hand. Mhm. Yeah, so it is a state service. So I do go out to private landowners' properties. I mean, it starts with a phone call or an email, and I usually ask for pictures, like what's going on, how long has it happened, and if it warrants a site visit, you know, we need to take a closer look, then definitely that's something that we help with. And then from there, you know, we just advise on your possible management strategies. And then from there, you would hire someone to either do the injections or do the trenching, or whatever it's going to be. Something else I was going to say about that. I don't know.
I've heard from several people that you're not supposed to burn wood trees down. It's open.
Yeah, so it doesn't spread through smoke. So let's say you have a red oak that died of oak wilt. You can cut it down and burn it right there, you know, in a debris pile. That's fine. It's leaving it there to use as firewood later. That's the dangerous part. So leaving it there to be able to grow a fungal mat to then spread it through the beetles if they're going back and forth. So it does not spread through the air. It has to be carried on that beetle to go, you know, across land and then from there through the roots. Does that answer your question?
So if you get it fast, you can go ahead and burn it.
I mean, that is the, well, yeah, I mean, if you cut it down and burn it in your fireplace, I mean, that same day, that's fine, but I mean.
We have an online question.
Oh.
Okay.
Sure.
The online question is, can oak wilt be spread by injectors?
By injectors?
Yes, I assume that it's William Rector's question.
I'm assuming they mean like on the equipment of the injections.
That's what I think he means.
I mean, if you're injecting a tree, the short answer is it's not been proven to spread on injection equipment or pruning tools. That hasn't been proven to spread on pruning tools, especially those that are powered. So like your chainsaw heats up enough to where it wouldn't, you know, spread on that chainsaw. But it is advised, especially for tree professionals, to clean their tools between each property, if not between each tree, just to stop the spread of other possible diseases. That's the right question.
I got a question.
Is there on average the cost to treat the tree?
Yeah, so to hire someone, a certified arborist costs around $11 to $15 per diameter inch. So they'll measure the tree at 4.5 feet off the ground and then get, measure the circumference, get the diameter from that. And so for every inch of diameter, about $15. So obviously your really big live oaks are going to be in the hundreds. And then, like I said, we recommend 2 injections. However, I always tell people it's cheaper to inject a tree for oak wilt than it is to have an insured arborist remove that tree once it dies. So, and then you save your tree, hopefully. Those injections, can be 80 to 90% successful if you're timing it right and the technique is right. But it's never 100%. So if someone guarantees you 100% they can save your trees, take that with a grain of salt.
Address the issue of cutting firewood, putting it in a truck and heading down the highway.
Yes. So I don't know if y'all remember on my map where I showed where it is in Texas, you could see Lubbock and Amarillo out there in the middle of nowhere having oak wilt. And that's probably it is because someone cut down an infected red oak somewhere, drove it out there, and, beetles went back and forth and started infecting trees in that area. So yes, if you have an infected red oak, you want to cut it down and get rid of it somehow right there. So you can bury it, you can chip it, you can, burn it on site. If you can't do any of that, you can girdle around the bottom to try to kill it and dry it out quicker so it can't produce that fungal mat. But yes, definitely don't want to be traveling with possibly infected red oak wood. And, as a reminder, you should buy firewood locally and use it locally as well.
So you said red oak.
Yes.
And what about white oak?
So those
Live oak?
those cannot produce a fungal mat under the bark. So really, there's nothing in that log, in the wood, that's going to be a risk, to take it somewhere else. I mean, if the tree already had oak wilt and then you cut it down and it's a live oak, that's okay to use as firewood.
Okay, I think that.
Yeah. So, it's tricky. If you don't know the species, best to just, not travel with it. But yeah, red oak. So those are the Spanish oaks around here. Those are the ones you don't want to use as firewood. Live oaks, which, most trees on a property, they're the live oaks, and that, carries through and a lot of the trees die. Those are okay to use as firewood. This is why I can't talk about oak wilt in 20 minutes. There's so many different complexities to it. Any other questions? All right, well, I will share the rest of my presentation if you do want to scroll through some native trees. And y'all can disperse that how you want. All right, sure. All right, well, thank y'all. I'll leave a few cards right here if any of y'all want to take one or take a picture of it.
Thank you, Erin. The simple solution is just plant a bunch of hackberries and yopons because they are beautiful in the winter. Not really. So, families in Rotary today, we have please continue to keep Robin Myers in your thoughts and prayers for her sister. Getting better, looking better, and feeling better. So the prayers are being heard and they're being answered. So thank y'all for that. Tomorrow, the weather is not supposed to be very nice. So please be careful if you have to get out and are about tomorrow. So just be safe. It's supposed to be horrible, sleet, snow, freezing rain, all that fun stuff that we live in Texas, so we avoid. So the Rotary announcements. We have a little something happening Saturday, I think.
Yeah, I heard a little bit about that.
You want to talk about it?
Oh, sure. You guys are just waiting for the day that I have something to say besides main event. We have a lot of really good news, and it is again a tribute to all of you sitting in this room and those of you that are online. All 20 tables are spoken for. We have the ability to actually add 1 or 2 more, but we've got 20 tables, about 17 of those are full sponsorships at 1,500. And then we've got a lot of individuals that have stepped up and are going to be at the event. So it's going to be a full room. So that's really great. The wine and whiskey pool, we are nearing 45 or 50 bottles by now, I think. So that's going better. Raffle ticket sales with the money and tickets that were turned in today is just over 15,000. So that's a nice improvement. All of this is adding up to a really successful event. Silent auction launched. Robin sent out the link and we've got over 100 items. So there's some activity there. Check it out if you haven't already. And then the live auction really started taking shape after last week. So Roy Boudreau is talking about doing a grandfather clock that he will do for the live auction. Mr. Pennack here yesterday has 9 signed and numbered G. Harvey prints from the LD Brinkman collection that he gave to us yesterday. So we're going to try that in the live auction. Our friend and president here, Jeff, has talked to his friends at Lowe's and they are going to do a Kamado Kettle Joe smoker. So that's about a $500 value. And then Jock, who I don't think is here today, he has secured a South African hunting excursion for 5 days. Airfare is not included, but you're going to get a great 5-day trip in South Africa. So lots of really interesting things. There was no time for the event listed on all the sponsor materials that went out. So let me answer that question for all of you. The doors open at 6, bar will be open at 6. Buffet starts at 6:30, gaming starts at 7. Live auction will be around 8 o'clock. We'll do the big raffle drawing around 9 o'clock. The bars and the gaming will close at 10 and the event closes at 11. So 6 o'clock to 11 o'clock, thereabouts-ish. And this is new information for me. It was a learning experience. In years past, we have allowed volunteers to be beverage waiters for the sponsor tables where they would go up to the bar and get the drink and come back to the table for that person. With our caterer and our TABC permitting and their permitting, we cannot do that this year. So those of you that bought sponsor tables that were expecting to have a beverage person to be able to run back and forth, they can't do it. If we do that, it is a liability on our club and we don't want to do that. So you'll have to go up to the bar where a nice TABC certified and trained bartender will be delighted and thrilled to help you. So I apologize for that for those sponsors. And then last, the Renaissance Festival is happening on Saturday from 10 to 5 at the River Star Park, which is right next to the event center, and they share parking. I talked to the event people this morning at the event center, and they are going to do their very best to manage parking so that the Renaissance Festival parking is well away from where we're going to be parking. But for people that are unloading or bringing stuff in early, it might be a little bit of a challenge. But that's okay because we're Rotarians and we face everything head on and we do it very well. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Marta. She doesn't like to speak and she wings it so well. So April the 25th, we have a little event coming up too. Just want to kind of plug another little reminder in there. It's a fun day of festivities this year at River Hill Country Club to raise money for our first responders. So it's the way that we send our professionals to schools so they can better educate themselves to take care of us. So tomorrow might be an attestment to that, hopefully not. Also, it's a way that we send our young men and women in the community that want to come back and give to us. We've sponsored a handful of individuals to actually go to the academy, fire academy, EMS academy, or law enforcement academy. And so we're very thankful that they come back to work for us here for Kerrville Police Department, Sheriff's Office, Fire Department, or up in Ingram as well. So we will have more information on that. We are taking sponsorship, but let's get Marta's taken care of before we start hammering everybody else for money. So Tanner, I understand that you have something that you'd like to say to the club. our new member. Come on up, get in front of the microphone. Let everybody on Zoom see who you are.
And I know Dave has some graphics that he's going to share. So what we at Belong, we work with foster kids, foster families, and we are actually going to be introducing a virtual information session every single month. It's going to be the first Tuesday and it's going to be the first Saturday. That QR code right there is going to get you signed up. It's the same Zoom link and it's the same sign up for every single meeting that we have for the remainder of this year. If you know absolutely nothing about foster care or the adoption process, this is the exact meeting that you need to go to. If you have been a provider or know somebody who has been involved for 30, 40 plus years, this is the exact meeting that they need to go to as well. It shows more about what we do as a company, but also how we can get our providers introduced to the public and people can ask questions to them directly as well. So it's a Q&A session. But yes, it'll be the first Tuesday, first Saturday at the same times. Tuesdays, it'll be from 6 to 7 in the evening. And then on Saturday, it will be from 10 to 11 as well in the morning. So kind of give you an option middle of the week, also on the weekends as well. So we had our very first one last night. It was very successful. Had about 30 people sign up. Some providers as well gave their contact information. So if you are interested, if you yourself maybe not interested, but you want to maybe volunteer, great opportunity for you to kind of get some more information on that. If you have friends, coworkers, anybody at your church, anyone in your neighborhood, family members that are also interested, please send them this information. If you want that directly sent to you, you can meet with me afterwards, and you can also, I'll give you my information, or you can give me your email. I will send you that directly to you, so you have that saved on your email or desktop, whatever. Also, just real quickly, we have another partnership that we are working with. That is for the Bernie Car Show. Anybody who wants to sponsor, we're looking for local businesses, not just in Bernie. We want Kerrville, we want Fredericksburg, we want Comel, we want all of our counties, we want New Braunfels, we want everybody, as many local businesses to sponsor their business. Mom and pop shops, that's what we're looking for. If you have a friend, if you have a business of your own, if you have anybody that might be interested, I have all of this information that I can send to you, the form to fill out, who you need to contact, who you need to make your check out to, all of that stuff for the Bernie Car Show, which is a fiesta event. About 5,000, 8,000 people end up going to this event. It's the only event outside of San Antonio, which is also a big plus. And all of the proceeds go directly to SJRC. SJRC is a housing facility for foster children. Every single bit, every penny goes to SJRC. So, and to help those kids out in need for foster care or adoption. So I have all that information. If you don't mind, you can meet with me afterwards. Give me your card, give me an email. I can send all of that information directly to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanner. Jeff, you were talking about fundraising for your event next year. I think we just found somebody. Speaking of Jeff, if you'd like to come up and announce our guests, please.
Tanner, I know you're new to the club, and normally when you want to do a paid announcement, it's for like 3 minutes and $5. According to my calculations, graphics are $25, by the way. Not done. Exceeding 5 minutes is $47.50 up to 10 minutes. So by my count, you ambushed me. You used my old age to cloak that announcement. Is very good, though, by the way. April 27th. April 25th, the week of, is First Responder Week. Jeff Harris and I made a command decision, and of course, we'll have Judy take care of that for us later after the election. Oh, I did. I said it. So the 27th will be our awards day, April 27 Wednesday. Okay. So I'm going to start sending that announcement out to the gang here pretty quick, and it'll be here. And we hope that y'all will join and have some fun. No pies in the face this year. Hey, don't give me that. Don't be giving me that cough. Paula, good to see you back. Are you enjoying the allergies of the hill country? I saw you wiping your eyes a minute ago. I said, well, we know you didn't bring the oak wilt, so it's good. Woody, good to see you back. So you had your orientation today, Sir Charlie? Good deal. Guests, I brought my old friend Frank Galvan with me today. Frank and I've known each other probably 20 years now. Started out as a communications partner when I was with the city, and Frank rose up the ranks and ended up being Area 6 supervisor of communication, public safety communication for Texas Department of Public Safety. So when he retired, ring, 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 I said, Frank, please don't retire. Come to Kerrville and take over. I was leaving and retiring, and thank God you came. Been there a little bit later on, 4 years, and done a great job of overseeing the communication shop at Kerrville Police Department. So good to have you with us today, Frank. Janelle, you have someone with you? Where's Janelle? Great, thank you. Ashley, you have a guess? I know Amber does. Oh, you still have Tanner listed? My, you don't have a name, Doug.
Jeff, I've got something online.
Say again.
I have something online, Jeff.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, JC's from your office, right, Amber? Okay. Glad to see you here today. Go ahead, Colonel.
Yes, if possible, I'm supposed to mention, and I guess it is possible, that Friday's farmer's market has been canceled due to weather. Somebody asked, did I say that? I think there's a whole bunch of stuff that's being.
Farmer's market is canceled. Oh, goody.
There's probably a million things that have been canceled.
Colonel, is that at the old Shriner Mansion? Okay, I'm being told it is. So no pint and plow at Shriner Mansion on Friday. It's better than the farmer's market. Kenneth Early, are you wearing your Rotary pin today, sir? You would have won by default because Robin walked out. Ashley Phillips, are you wearing a Rotary pin today? Well, then come up and get a bottle of wine.
We have 15 bottles of whiskey, all the rest is wine, so we're great on wine. But if anyone wants to, does not have a bottle, they want to donate some money, I am running by there, so if anyone would like to donate a little bit for the week, more bottles, that would be me. No pressure, but wine, we're just so around. So I'm gonna go buy more bottles.
See me, Amber, and I'll get you some money, Amber. So Amber's having a rough week at the office, and she's going to the liquor store when she gets through with the meeting today. So Fireball makes everything warmer. So she is, Amber Thomason is going, for all of our Zoom participants, Amber is going to the liquor store after for wine and whiskey pool. We are good on wine. She has 15 bottles of whiskey, and she is going to go get some more for the event Saturday. God, we sound like a bunch of alcoholics, but it's a,
$27 for a Crown or a Jack, 0.750 bottle.
Mr. Wendling knows that to the penny what Crown costs.
The Crown comes with glasses. No. January 1st, 1992, I quit drinking. Hell of a night before. So those are prices when I went to Specs. Specs is from Dallas.
I feel like I should say my name is Jeff Harris, and never mind. We're not going that way. So our next, yeah, we're gonna get out a little early so we can all go hit the liquor store. So our next meeting is going to be the Valentine's Day program. So that'll be next week. And Rotary member love stories. So it's always a fun event. And for some reason, I look out and I just lock in on George and Judy Eichner for some reason. But look forward to having that event with us. And with that, if you would please rise and join me in the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Fair to all concerned. Will be better friendships. Will be beneficial to all concerned.